to the Quick Question Podcast. My name is Gabe Ryan. This is my co-host, Matt Chafty.
What's up?
We are going to be doing a sports talk podcast. Obviously, it's in the name of the title. But we're going to do it a little bit differently than normal. Instead of just having a couple topics and talking about whatever, the two of us are going to fire questions back and forth with each other. Most of them are going to be related to the sports that we know best. So for myself, I'm pretty good at baseball with college basketball, and then Matt's expertise is a little bit more on the football side, as well as NBA. Maybe throw a little tennis in there. I know a little golf.
Hockey.
I'm
a well-rounded.
We're going to try to be as well-rounded as we can possibly be. But before we start, it'd probably be smart to introduce ourselves. So I'll go first. My name is Gabe. I'm a sophomore at Xavier University. Played sports in high school, actually work with Xavier Athletics and the Cincinnati Reds. It's been a pretty fun year working with those two organizations. And Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Matt Chafty. I'm also a sophomore here at Xavier University. You can't see a flag, but we got a flag hanging up over there. It's all for one. That's like the kind of motto-ish thing for Xavier. I'm in sports management. I also, too, did play sports in high school. And I am from Michigan, and Xavier's in Ohio, so made the trip. Yeah.
So if anybody's watching this and has the ability to send in comments or anything, if you want to send anything related to Maize and Blue, anything related to the University of Michigan, we would fully support.
Oh, yeah,
that.
I would love that. Significantly love that.
Especially if you take notice of that helmet. Yeah. Anyways, the way this show is going to work, obviously, like I said before, we're going to bounce questions back and forth with each other. So for every episode, we're going to have a total of 5 main questions. And if you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, you're going to be able to see the questions on the side. And then at the end of the show, we might get into some rapid fire questions, some off the cuff questions, kind of just talking, hanging out, doing whatever. But we'd love to hear some feedback. If you have any suggestions, if you have anything that you would like us to do, just please let us know. We're going to try to get better at this every episode. And you can expect episodes from us every Thursday. And we're going to be recapping the weekend before as well as previewing the weekend that is upcoming. So it kind of gives us a little bit of flexibility as to what we're talking about. Without further ado, let's kick off our first question. So Matt, in the world of college football, we've had some crazy upsets in week 3, technically, because week 0, week 1, week 2.
Technically,
yeah, okay. But week 2,
we're gonna call it week 2.
Week 2. So Appalachian State goes down to Texas A&M, cleans house at Kyle Field, which is nuts. Notre Dame loses their first 2 games. Just craziness across college football. So after week 2, who is your college football dark horse to make the college football playoff?
That's a broad question.
It's a very broad question.
So you've heard me say it. A lot of people have heard me say it. I've been speaking about them since like the end of winter, beginning of spring. I love this team. BYU. Their schedule has its difficulties. They still have to go into Oregon. They play Notre Dame in Las Vegas, and then they play Arkansas at home later in the year. It's a tough schedule.
Yeah.
But I really, really believe in these guys. They have a lot of returning talent on offense. They actually were missing their top 2 receivers in their game against Baylor, number 9 Baylor, and beat them.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's a big, big step for them. Step in the right direction. They returned, I think, 16 of the 17 most snaps, guys on defense who took the most snaps. And I don't know. There's just something about them. They've played really well. They've played good all-around football. They're smart. They're tough. They do have some penalties to clean up here and there, but
doesn't everybody?
For the most part, they've done a really good job this year. I'm going to talk about Jaren Hall for a minute, their quarterback. He is just a dynamic player.
Dog?
Yes, but an amazing leader. Their kicker, he missed a few field goals in the last game to win it. And after the game, when they forced the incompletion in the end zone to win it, Jaren Hall, during that drive, was sitting with them the entire time after the game. They hugged for like minutes. And
leadership.
It's special. I think he's a really special player. I really hope he can make a name for himself in the NFL. He is already 24 years old. So that
How long's he been in college?
for a while. He's only a junior.
Good
too.
Lord.
Yeah.
What? How
Yeah.
many years of eligibility does he have left?
He has 2 more. He's got this and then 1 more. You
Like-
know, the whole COVID thing.
Well,
and then he took
obviously, but
red shirt, gray shirt. And here he is.
so he has red shirt, gray shirt,
Mhm.
COVID year.
Yep.
Plus 4. So he has 7 years of college. So he was 19 as a freshman.
Yep.
That is nuts.
Yeah, weird to think about.
26-year-old starting quarterback in college.
I don't
That
think,
just doesn't sound
he's,
right.
He's 24 right now. I don't think, I mean, the way he's playing right now and the way he played last year, he could be putting his name in the draft when it's all said and done. But there's something
College
about
sports
this
is a
game.
very weird arena right now.
Mhm. Really weird. Last week, one of my roommates heard me call it, but Washington over Wisconsin, I was sitting on the couch. I'm like, that right there at 12 o'clock, I was like, that right there is my upset of the week. And I called it. They got a really dynamic quarterback. I think his name's Cameron Ward. And he came from an FCS school, put up just ridiculous numbers over there. And now he's at Washington State, and he's doing pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson, quarterback for the Jets, he was BYU.
Yeah,
Right?
they've had a lot of good. They had Steve Young at one point, a quarterback
Dang.
at BYU.
So they've had a good pedigree of quarterbacks, good players, and now that they're joining the Big 12 along
Mhm.
with UC,
Yep.
that's huge for their program, especially getting them on a national stage. But yeah, exciting for BYU.
Yeah, I want to say the move to the Big 12 isn't final because of all the chaos that's going
Yeah,
on
that's
with
very true.
realignment. But at the same time, from everything that I'm hearing, you're hearing, it's probably a lock. Probably a lock. You never know.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right. You have a question for me?
I do have a question for you. We're going to go back, shift to baseball. AL, MVP and Cy Young winner. Give me your prediction.
So the AL MVP debate is a little bit of a contentious one because there's a lot of New York Yankees fans that are screaming right now to say Aaron Judge, and Aaron Judge is definitely in the final 2. And then there's a lot of other baseball purists that are saying Shohei Ohtani for the Los Angeles Angels. And I guess when you break it down, Judge has 55 home runs so far this year. He's having an unbelievable year. He's just a few off Roger Maris's franchise record at 61, and that number 61 is such a significant part of baseball history and very important part of New York Yankees history. And I think if he reaches that, I think Judge has to be the MVP. Just like from a baseball historical perspective, like thinking about how much that record means. And there's been a lot of talk, a lot of debate with MLB home run leaders and their I can't speak. What am I thinking? And their connection with steroids, PEDs. So you think about Sammy Sosa, you think about Mark McGwire, you think about Barry Bonds. As of now, Judge doesn't have any of that on his record, so he's purely doing it. And I guess it's the first guy since Hank Aaron to really just hit a ton of home runs and not be in any sort of trouble about it. And I just think if he keeps mashing, he's met everything to that Yankees offense, especially the second half of the year. The Yankees have kind of stunk, and they send away some players like Jordan Montgomery, who's one of their starting pitchers, and he's absolutely shoving for the Cardinals. And you get in Andrew Benintendi, you send Joey Gallo away to the Dodgers, and Joey Gallo's actually starting to hit the ball. Benintendi's been hurt. Rizzo's been down. LeMahieu. Like their whole lineup has been fluctuating, and then obviously their shortstop problems. But I think Judge has carried that offense in every single way. And when you have 55 home runs, it's hard for you to not carry the entire offense.
Right.
But if the rest of that lineup kind of fills in around him, I think the Yankees are going to be dangerous here in a couple weeks when the playoffs start. I think Judge is the AL MVP, but there is something to be said about Mr. Shohei Ohtani. And Shohei has had a ridiculous season. And the one thing you have to remember about Shohei is he's basically 2 players in one. He's a starting pitcher who has like a sub-3 ERA. He has a ton of strikeouts. He pitches 6 or 7 innings, it feels like, every start. And then on the flip side, the days he's not pitching, he's hitting like 3 or 4 hole, and he's hitting over 30 home runs this year. He's batting around 300, driving in a ton of runs. And the Angels stink. The Angels are terrible. Like, outside of Shohei and Trout, they have nobody. And it's so sad to have 2 of the best players in the game just stuck basically on an island by themselves, not being able to do anything, not being able to contribute in the playoffs, not being able to try to work towards a World Series victory. So on that standpoint, they're not playing meaningful games, but what they are doing is so incredibly special. And Shohei is a once-in-a-lifetime, maybe once-in-a-sport player. Like, the only comparison is Babe Ruth. But Babe Ruth didn't have the numbers that he did consistently, and Babe Ruth wasn't a pitcher throughout his entire career. And if Shohei is young enough to where he can sustain that for a long, long time, and he's already started just absolutely mashing home runs, it's unbelievable watching him. And obviously, being in Cincinnati, we don't get to watch him a lot since they're on the West Coast, but he's a unicorn. And it's hard, like, if you give him the AL MVP like he did last year, it's hard to not give it to him every year, especially if he puts up those numbers, because nobody else can replace that kind of production. And he's taking up one roster spot, but he's as valuable as 2 people. So in terms of that kind of value, he's the most valuable player. But I think Judge gets it just because of the home run record, and he's carried the offense.
Yeah, I want to agree with you. I really do. Aaron Judge just had
another little sub point on this too is, like, I saw this on Twitter the other day. When Barry Bonds, take the steroids, PEDs out of the question, when he was going on his little chase for, is it like 73 home runs? There's some count. I know I'm going to get killed for that, but whenever he was going on his home run chase, nobody would have thought, like, oh, does he even pitch? Like, what does he do on the other side of the ball? Like, that's not, he's hit so many home runs, it's like unanimous that he gets that. But again, he's still not competing against Shohei Ohtani. And who knows, if Shohei was back in 2004, what would be happening? But I think Judge gets it. And then as far as AL Cy Young goes, because Verlander's hurt right now. Shane McClanahan's been really good. He started the All-Star game. And then Dylan Cease has been really good for the White Sox, but they don't win any games when he pitches. He pitches lights out, and then they always seem to lose the game, which is very indicative of the White Sox season. But I think Shane McClanahan gets it. The Rays have been really hot. They're actually pretty close to catching the Yankees.
Yeah.
Or like they've closed that gap significantly. And I guess what he's meant for their team in the playoffs, I think second in that same school of thought would be Verlander, but obviously with him being hurt, it's hard to like put a complete year together if he's missing significant time towards the end of the season. Now, he's going to be in the playoffs, and he's going to contribute, and he's going to be pitching on big stages because the Astros are really good. But as far as the regular season, that at least for me, I feel like you have to finish everything out for you to be able to do that. So, yeah, those are so Shane McClanahan for AL Cy Young, and then I'll have Aaron Judge wins AL MVP.
I'm really biased, and I want to say Verlander because Tigers fan. But McClanahan's had an amazing season as well.
He's really,
yeah, and he hasn't been hurt. So
he hasn't.
Yeah. So I'll agree with you on both those.
And then, all right, so we're going to switch topics back to football.
Yep.
NFL Week 1 just happened this past weekend. Who had the most concerning performance, either individually or as a team? Because there was a lot of craziness that happened. A lot of teams that did not look good whatsoever. My Bengals looked awful. But oh well. Who do you think had a terrible performance, like the most concerning performance for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I got to say, like, I hate doing this Week 1, right? Like Week 1.
Overreaction Thursday.
Yeah, I don't like overreactions. No. Like in the very beginning of the year. If you're getting towards like the middle of the season, then sure. But I can name a few teams that there are some concerns. We could talk about the Cowboys, where the Buccaneers just put on like an offensive attack, just so balanced, and it worked, really well. And Dak Prescott's hurt. I really want to say they can go after Garoppolo or Gardner Minshew or something like that. But it's Jerry Jones.
Minshew.
You never know. Or, Matt Barkley.
Gardner Minshew as
Case
the Dallas
Keenum.
Cowboys quarterback would be, I think that would be a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Jerry
He's got the
World.
headband too.
I know.
So I also want to talk about the 49ers a bit. I know they played in the monsoon and their defense didn't look that bad given it was the Bears and a monsoon, right? But at that point, like, you cannot let up 19 points to the Bears in a monsoon. And Trey Lance, I have him as my fantasy quarterback. I'm going to start him one more week, see how he does against the Seahawks, but he just did not look good. And I really believe in him. I was on top of him when we were talking about like his scouting back in college. I really wanted the Lions to go after him, but then the 49ers traded up and got him. I'm not going to complain, though. I think we got Penei Sewell, so no complaints here from me. But, like, as a team, you just got to do better. I get Elijah Mitchell got hurt. Now you're going to rely on Deebo Samuel and Jeff Wilson at running back. Maybe Price Davis. But, I mean, we'll just see what happens. It's a long season. We have a long way to go. But there are some concerns with those two teams. We could name the Bengals if you want. If you want to name a third, we can name the Bengals. But at the same time, it's not like they're unhealthy. Like,
no,
there's the injury report's fine. Joe Burrow didn't play a good game, right?
I just think I think everybody was rusty because the starters didn't have a lot of snaps, and I don't think Burrow played a snap in the preseason.
Yep.
Same thing with the receivers, and then the appendectomy. I could go on, but I will save you your time.
He will be fine. I think he'll be fine. Like, there's a lot of people overreacting about him being the next Carson Wentz. Well, Carson Wentz had a very good game with the Commanders, but he's fine. He will be okay.
He'll be fine.
He will be completely fine.
Everybody's kind of freaking out because we actually looked like the Bengals last week, which it kind of, in some ways, it felt like the Super Bowl run never happened because we just picked off where we normally picked off, and we almost won the game. Or I shouldn't say we. The Bengals almost won the game. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like those two teams.
Yeah. I also like my Lions, but they lost. It was a closer game than I thought. I thought it was going to be a blowout.
That's true.
But I'm very happy that they stuck with the Eagles, who I think are the best team in the NFC East.
I mean, it's not hard to be the best team in the NFC East.
Sure.
Because the
the Cowboys, when they have Dak, or if they get Garoppolo, they will still be very good. They'll be in the playoffs if they get an actual quarterback to back up,
Yeah, but
and then Dak Prescott.
Is the play calling gonna be good enough?
I certainly hope so. But if they get Garoppolo, they have experience at quarterback right there.
Yeah,
2 NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah, he beat the Cowboys in the playoffs last year.
Mm-hmm. So,
food for thought.
They could reunite on, the same team instead of opponents.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Yeah. All right. So, I'm going right back to baseball.
Right back to baseball.
Yeah. So, I want to talk about, just gave you a question about predictions. I have more questions about predictions because the playoffs are coming up. They're rolling around. They're showing its head just a little bit. I'm very excited. I know you're very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Which team will continue to rock and roll, and which team that is, currently on the outside looking in could find a way to squeak in?
So I'll give you one in both divisions. So team that's rocking and rolling, they just clinched the division last night, is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're loaded from top to bottom. They're unbelievable. When you have potentially Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, and Justin Turner as your starting infield, like, that's stupid. That is absolutely stupid. And then you have Cody Bellinger and Chris Taylor and Max Muncy, among other, Will Smith behind the plate. Like, you have an absolutely loaded roster. You lose 3 major contributors to your starting pitching rotation, and the 3 guys that come to back them up are 1, 2, 3 in the NL Cy Young voting as of now: Tony Gonsolin, Tyler Anderson, and Julio Urias. It's unbelievable what they're doing. They are rocking and rolling. Mookie Betts was mic'd up on Sunday Night Baseball a couple weeks ago, and just the joy that he was talking about the game, like he was just enjoying everything about the game, and he said it's a lot easier to play good when you're having a lot of fun. And it looks like the culture there is really good. Obviously, the level of players are just unbelievable. And I think the Dodgers are going to be really tough to beat this postseason, because at the beginning of the year, the Yankees were the talk of the town. The Yankees and the Mets were the two best teams in baseball. They were absolutely destroying everybody. And then once we got to the middle part of the year, the Dodgers just kept – it was like a very gradual rise towards, I guess, where they're at, which is sitting at 97 wins, which is unbelievable. And for a team that won like 108 games or 109 games, whatever it was last year, and they have a chance to beat that in this consecutive year is ridiculous. So I think in the NL, Dodgers are going to be tough to beat in a couple weeks in the playoffs. And LA during the postseason is a very tough environment to play in. And I know that they have some motivation after losing to the Braves last year and just trying to, like, they've had so many good teams of recent, and they only have one World Series trophy to show for it. And I think that really bugs them. And so I think they have some added fuel. And then as far as dark horse for the National League, I guess you can't really count the Milwaukee Brewers out. They're sitting 2 games back of the wild card, and they're only a few games back of the Cardinals in first place of the National League Central, which the National League Mid as is sometimes called, because it's not a very strong division. Actually, they're 8 games back of the Cardinals, so they're closer for the wild card. They're only 2 games out of that. If they get hot, they have enough talent, especially in their bullpen and their starting rotation. It's just their hitting that's been the problem the entire season. So I think the Brewers, if they get hot, they have limited amount of time left. They can sneak into the wild card, take it over Philadelphia. And then as far as the AL goes, Houston Astros are the best team in the American League. I think hands down they're better than the Yankees. The Yankees have been struggling really mightily. I think it's pretty clear that it's the Yankees it's the Astros and then the Yankees. And they're, besides the whole cheating scandal a couple years ago, the Astros have just been the most consistent team in the American League. Like, they win every year, and it doesn't matter who they have. They didn't let go of Correa. Correa signed with the Twins in the offseason and free agency. But the guys that they have coming up, they're just winners. Bregman, Altuve, Yordan Alvarez absolutely mashes baseballs. And they're just going to be another team to contend with. They're going to be really tough in the playoffs. They made it to the World Series last year. And Houston in the playoffs is a really hard place to play. And we'll see if teams can come in there and knock them off their throne a little bit, especially the Yankees, because the Yankees seem to get knocked out by them every year and always get gypped. So we'll see. I think on that side it's going to be very interesting. And then the 2 dark horse teams are going to be the Baltimore Orioles and then the Chicago White Sox. And the Chicago White Sox are only a few games out of the Central lead in the American League. American League Central is probably the worst division in baseball. You Detroit Tigers fans know that very well. Sorry. Because I'm a Reds fan.
Yeah, I get it.
Is what it is. Anyways, I think the White Sox, all they have to do is go on, maybe win 5 in a row or 5 out of 7, 5 out of 6. Like, it doesn't take a ton to get them over the hump, because the Guardians are young. They still don't know really what they're doing, and they could give that away very easily. The Twins, I think, are going to keep falling off. And so it's the White Sox. They have an opportunity. They've had an opportunity this entire year, and they just haven't done anything about it. And then the Baltimore Orioles, they're in a very tough division with the AL East, having the Yankees, having the Blue Jays and Rays, who are really good. And they're that kind of 4th team hanging out there in kind of the midst of what's going on over there. They're 5.5 out of the wild card. It would take something really, really special for them to get into the postseason. But I think just as a season, like a holistic approach to their season, they've been outperforming any expectations they had going into the year. Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Santander. They've had a lot of players that have performed really well, and they've been they're probably the most fun team to watch, in my opinion. when it's all said and like of the young teams that are emerging, the Orioles are really fun. They're really competitive and really good. And if they don't do anything this year, I think in the next couple of years they could really compete for a division title and definitely a wild card spot.
Yeah.
So those are my teams.
I really want to, even though I'm not a White Sox fan, I really want to believe in them because, of course, they were so high during the preseason.
I mean, it's just been, I feel like it's been a mix of mediocrity as well as injuries and just a lot of craziness. Like Tony La Russa has done some wild things as a manager. He's walked guys with 0-2 counts. He's relied on fans for subbing players in and out. And now he's not around the team because he's left with like a medical reason. And I don't know if he's going to return for the rest of the year. So who knows what happens there? Who knows if there's a couple players that are going to rally the team around, kind of change the culture, change the mindset going into the last stretch of the season. But it'll be very interesting to see what they can do. They have a pretty easy schedule. They have the Rockies, they have the Guardians, they have the Tigers left on their schedule. No offense, but they have the makings to do something and squeeze in a wild card. And if they make it to the wild card, they got good pitching. They can get hot with the bats. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But those are my teams.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then last question for you. Back to college football. I know you talked earlier when we were talking about BYU, talking about conference realignment and Big 12. So I heard this question on Dan Patrick the other day, and he was talking about because the college football playoff is going to be realigned in 2026, do you foresee the conferences changing the landscape of the structure of college football in the time between now and 2026? Do you think there's going to be any super conferences, any super leagues, any tier system? What are your thoughts on that idea?
So I think the whole conference realignment thing, it's going to take a lot of time. I think it's going to take multiple realignments to like move people into one super conference. It may end up happening. I mean, we basically have free agency. We basically, have guys being paid through the NIL.
Yeah.
We basically have salaries. It's turning more and more into the NFL. And eventually it probably will happen. The question is when. And right now, there's also news that it could be even closer to 2025 or 2024.
Yeah.
The playoff expansion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they would
Could
expedite that a little bit.
Right now,
which makes sense.
Yeah. It's set for 2026, but it could move up to 2025 or 2024.
I think the committee has to vote on it. I don't know exactly when they have to vote on it by, but all the commissioners have to get together with the committee and vote on that.
I'm really hoping it's 2024. That'd be so cool.
And it's 12-team playoff, correct? Which from my perspective, I'm not a huge college football fan, but if you have that 4-team playoff, it's just going to be SEC or heavyweights and then a Big Ten school or a Notre Dame or somebody like that. But you expand it a little bit. Maybe it's not going to be, nothing's going to replace March Madness or replace the magic of that, just because basketball and football are completely different sports as far as what it does to your body and how often you can play it. But 12 teams makes it a lot more interesting. I think it engages more fans and engages more fan bases instead of the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Fighting Irish. Like, it brings Buckeyes. Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's a mix between 6 teams every year. And then you have the anomaly of UC making it last year.
Yeah, that was a good run for them.
It was a really good run. But
they're not the same team.
And it also changes the way you play a season, because for teams like UC, teams like Notre Dame, Ohio State, if you lose in week 1 or 2, you're pretty much counted out of the playoff, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I mean,
there are things
for Notre Dame or a BYU, that teams that are out of a conference.
Yeah,
you lose a game, that's probably wraps. But for teams like Ohio State, let's say they lost Notre Dame and then won out, they would probably still be in the playoff because the Big Ten is so solid.
But like, if you were playing football at a Power 5 school or even like a UC or something, and first game of the year, you lose like they did to Arkansas.
Yeah.
And basically the rest of your season is a wash.
Yep.
Like, what does that do to you? Like, does it even make it worth it to play college? Like, you do all that work, you do all the training, you get training camp, you do all those workouts, you do everything together as a team, and you basically have zero chances of winning something super meaningful besides your conference tournament or conference championship. Like, I feel like that is just a very unforgiving model, in my opinion. But if you expand it to 12 teams, it gives more people chances and it makes it more exciting towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Instead of you have your guys and it's just like, oh, who's going to screw up?
Yeah. I'm super excited to see how they format the first round games.
Mhm.
They're planning on having it be like the higher seed gets home field advantage. Campuses are going to be buzzing. That's going to be awesome. Obviously, it doesn't help the group of 5 teams because as it is structured, like college football favors the Power 5. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I mean,
like teams like UC, they're going to be in the Power 5, but let's just like pretend they're not for a moment. Like they're not going to get a home game. It's just
No.
the way it is. You'll have like the Michigans and the teams. Let's say they don't win their conference, but they're huge, like big bids, like Michigan, Georgia, whoever else. Like the top 4 teams will be the power. They call it the Power 4 or the best 4 conference winners, and then the rest are just big teams, big bids. So it's really interesting what's happening. We're just gonna have to wait and see.
And this is all due to Texas and Oklahoma declaring that they're going to change conferences to the SEC last year.
Yeah.
And you see the craziness that's happened. The Big Ten just signed a ridiculous TV deal. And I'm sure your Michigan State friends and you.
I'm very happy with Kevin Warren. And a lot of people were like, oh, he didn't handle COVID well. But like, he did the best he could, and like given the circumstances of a pandemic. And he's done really well with TV rights and figuring all that stuff out. Getting a contract with 3 different programs.
CBS, Fox, and NBC.
It's NFL. It's huge.
And then also on that front, Notre Dame's the only college football team that has a deal with NBC. And now that you signed a deal with NBC, we'll see if Notre Dame makes its way into the Big Ten.
A bigger deal at that.
Yeah. And I don't know. In my mind, I feel like it's really hard. From top to bottom, I feel like SEC is obviously the superior conference in college football. The Big Ten obviously has really good schools. They have schools that have college football playoff bids with your Ohio States, Michigan States. Has Penn State ever made a bid? But they've been close.
They've been very close.
Yeah, so they have it's a very top heavy conference in a lot of ways. So from the TV deal perspective, Big Ten's crushing it.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. Like there's nothing paralleled, and it's so much money.
I guess I don't know.
Do you think they'll give us any money?
No.
Can we try to find some money?
Maybe we can like scratch.
just scratch away at things. We could show up at Michigan State and beg for money. Yeah. Like
this is also like affecting not just college football, but think of the next biggest is college basketball.
Oh yeah.
Like again, who knows how it's going to affect conference realignment in college basketball? Obviously, you bring in the Big East too. How are they going to get affected by all this?
Yeah, but it's different for the Big East because they don't have to worry about football.
Right.
Well, I guess Butler, Villanova have very small football teams, but they play Division II.
Yeah, FCS.
FCS. So I guess it's a little bit different, but yeah, it's a very interesting time for college football.
What a time to be alive. A lot of people are getting money. A lot of small teams are going on the road, getting money and winning.
I know.
Marshall and Weber State did that just this weekend too.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And who else? Why am I slipping now? Who just beat Texas A&M? Why am I?
Appalachian.
Yes,
State?
Appalachian State.
Appalachian.
Wow.
Appalachian.
Yeah.
However you pronounce it.
Potato.
Exactly.
Yeah. They also take money. So
it's a little hit to Jimbo Fisher's ego. That's for sure.
Yeah. All those big recruiting classes.
That gives Saban a little bit of a leg up.
Mm-hmm. And also, but Alabama.
I'm not in Alabama football. Well,
kind of.
Alabama. I have connections to
was
Alabama.
In a very tight game with Texas. Very tight.
They won though.
They did win.
So we move on.
There were
We move on.
We do move on.
We move on.
Then the horns down thing, and
Just
and
like the Bengals, they
Saban
lost, but we
losing his
move
mind.
on.
I can't imagine practice.
24-hour rule. That's the Saban rule.
What do you think practice is like with Nick Saban right now?
Hell.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Absolute hell.
Yeah, they are just in the deepest depths of hell, and he's dragging them to Saturday.
He might.
It's training camp all over again.
It very well could be. And especially with the little horns down thing that they did at the end of the game.
That was dumb.
I haven't seen, obviously, I've seen Saban pretty pissed off, but that was a scary, very scary visual. And I can't imagine what the players went through in the locker room and then in the practices and the following days. That sounds like a terrible time.
From a me standpoint and a Nick Saban standpoint, that is not a win you should be satisfied with at all. A win's a win.
I mean,
right? You move on. Texas is a good team. Well, they should be.
But it's also the second week of football. You got a lot to learn. And
Yeah.
if they end up winning the national championship, it's going to be like, oh, this is the week where everything changed.
You got to think like
We got-
Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Will
we got
Will
kick to
Anderson.
the we got kicked in the shins and we really rallied and we went on our merry way. That's
Yeah.
what it's going to be.
Mhm.
But all right, you ready to do some rapid fire questions?
We can do some rapid fire questions.
Here's our music.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
All right. Let's get going.
Rapid fire. Okay, so number one, would you rather be reincarnated as a sea creature or an airborne creature?
Ooh. I feel like airborne.
I really thought I was just,
Flying would be a lot cooler.
I thought I was just gonna talk on top of the
On
music,
top
so I was
of-
like shouting in the mic. That's on me.
I'm
That's
gonna
on me.
do it like edit it so it fades and looks cool.
So
Sorry.
I guess from my standpoint, I like the ocean a lot. I like dolphins. Dolphins are my favorite animal. So even though they have some wild side to them, they are cool creatures. I think I'd like to be a dolphin. So
You'd like to
sea
be-
creature.
So I didn't even answer what animal I would want to be. I think like an eagle would be cool.
Yeah.
And then you could go pretty, like you fly above the clouds. So even if it's like raining, bad weather or whatever, you just kind of get away.
Mhm.
And it's pretty peaceful up there, I would think. I don't know. I don't love the water in the ocean. Not a very good swimmer. Ocean kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay away from the ocean. I'm going to go with the eagle.
Okay. So next question. Would you rather go through your whole life being the most hilarious person or the most intelligent person?
Definitely hilarious. If you were the most intelligent person, that could also be, I feel like that could borderline be kind of like you're just a know-it-all. And I don't know.
But I mean, couldn't your intelligence make really good jokes?
I guess in a way, but also could your jokes be intelligent because of how good they are? That sounded so dumb.
No, I got it.
You know what I mean?
I hope you guys get it.
You know what I mean? Like
I know what you mean.
In order to have a good joke, besides ones that are just like spur of the moment,
Yeah.
like you have to be kind of calculated to be hilarious in a way. So, I mean, you're intelligent with people socially and in a lot of ways, like you don't have to, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
You can solve a lot of problems that way.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the human level 1st.
I'm going to go intelligence just because I could use that for so many different things.
That's true.
Like, it just doesn't have to be like science. Like, I'm not going to be intelligent in science. It could be everything.
Well, if you were the most hilarious person, that doesn't mean you have zero intelligence.
Right. But that's just.
But you would be
being
able to
hilarious.
be intelligent enough to survive
Mhm.
and to do different things.
Whereas intelligence, in my opinion, could be an intelligence for multiple things. Where
Okay.
it could also be jokes. It could be sports. It could be love life. It could be a lot of different things.
You need some
The
help.
love doctor.
The love doctor.
I have a PhD in love.
Do you?
No.
No. Okay, good.
Okay. So next question. Okay, this is a weird one. Would you rather actually backstory. Okay. You're at a party. Like you've had a really good time.
Really good time?
Really good time.
Okay.
Okay, you're hammered. Would you rather poop in the only toilet in the party knowing you were going to clog it, or because you were so drunk, poop in the bushes in the backyard?
Well, okay. So if we do the toilet one, do you have to clean it up?
I mean, if you're knowing, like, would it be difficult to clean a toilet or like unclog a toilet when you're drunk?
Probably. I've never been in that state of mind to where
I've
had
never
to
been
do such an
drunk
act.
unclogging a toilet before.
I feel like that would be difficult.
Usually when you're drunk, you're like throwing up into a toilet, which could also clog the toilet. So like you could go to the bathroom throwing up knowing damn well.
I thought we weren't going to do this question, but now that we're here, I feel like there's so many other things that could go wrong if you tried to do it outdoors.
Yeah.
We'll just go with the first option. I'm not even going to say it back.
I don't know. I really don't know because
Just pick an answer.
that's a tough one because it's the only toilet in the house and people are waiting on you because they've had a lot of drinks. They probably have to piss.
Oh, so well,
I'll go toilet. Because it's assuming I can unclog it because
yeah,
clog toilets all the
that's
time.
my question is do you get to fix the situation
I'm assuming you can probably unclog the toilet.
or is this like you're the last one there and then it doesn't really matter?
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on. All right. Next question. Would you rather be one of the world's leading experts in a single field or the most well-rounded and versatile person in the world? So, expertise in a single field, you know everything about it. Or just be
Definitely
the most,
well-rounded.
Yeah. I would
not
say
even-
well-rounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like I have to explain myself further.
No, you probably don't.
It would be really hard to just be really good at one thing and not be able to do anything. It's like if you could know the most about outer space, or like, I don't know, you would know everything about solving something really important to the world, and then you wouldn't know how to tie your shoes.
Like life-changing. Yeah. Well, I mean, you could do the basic things. I'm thinking.
Could you?
Probably. Like, it's not saying you only know that topic.
Well,
It's just being the world's leading expert in a very important field.
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going
I would
well-rounded.
agree with you because like there's so many things I want to do in my life other than just this podcast that
See how long this lasts. I think we'll be locked in for a while.
for life.
As long as you guys listen.
For lifers.
For wow.
For
Okay.
life.
You heard
Why
it here
not?
first.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Next question. If you could be a character in a TV show, what character would you be?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm down to two. I would either be Ted Lasso, which it's one of my favorite shows. And for people that know me that are listening to it, shouldn't be much of a shock. I would like to be Ted. Ted's a very cool individual. I feel another really good character would be Chandler Bing from Friends. It's just his wit, his jokes, and sarcasm. Like, I don't know. It makes me laugh every time. So either Chandler Bing or Ted Lasso, two polar opposite human beings.
Yeah. I was gonna say Ted Lasso.
Well, pick a new one.
I could pick a new one.
You've
I
been
could
watching
try.
Game of Thrones recently, right?
Yeah.
So
I've only been through one season.
who's your favorite character? I don't even know the characters, but who's
I
your
like
favorite
Jon
character?
Snow a lot.
Okay.
Jon Snow is a baller. If I could pick one character other than Ted Lasso,
Okay.
and not anyone else in Ted Lasso, because I might pick Coach Beard. But as a kid, I grew up loving Pokemon. I'm not a fan.
Are you
of
gonna
Pokemon
do
anymore.
Ash?
Maybe. I don't know the characters in the show. Okay.
I don't. I have a limited Pokemon.
If the main character, whoever, Ash, right?
I think
I'll do
it's
him.
Ash. Okay.
Because it'd be pretty cool to be like catching Pokemon and making friends with big monsters.
Okay. Well, that's definitely not
Animal
what I was
cruelty.
expecting.
Woo. God. I'm kidding. Oh.
All right.
Okay.
What else do we have? How many more do we have?
We got two more.
Okay.
Okay. Next question. Okay. Which sport would you add to the Olympics?
Ooh. Well, is baseball added to it?
I don't think so. I think
If baseball's not added to it, then baseball. I'm trying to think of like a sport that the whole world plays. That's, I don't know, because golf just recently got added. I don't know if baseball either just recently got added or actually they did because Todd Frazier played on that team.
Oh yeah,
and they won
that's right.
silver
Right,
or whatever.
right. Yeah,
Or bronze. I forget what
I think
they
it
won.
was silver.
Yeah, whatever. I don't remember how they finished, but I'm trying to think. Like, what sport hasn't been
I think I have
darts?
My answer. I think I have my answer.
Darts? Or is that like too close to archery?
No, I think that would be fine.
Like, there's professional dart,
Yeah.
professional bowling.
I would say that's what I was going to say. Bowling.
Ooh, that would be fun.
That is entertainment. Strike to claim it. Strike to claim it. And he got it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good call.
That'd be so entertaining. All right, last one. This is a yes or no. You can explain, but a yes or no answer. Will AI take over the world?
No,
I don't think so either.
not the entire world. Maybe some parts, but not the entire world.
The way I see it is we have to make it a companion. Like we have to make a relationship between AI and
Where did
us.
this come from?
Just my brain.
Oh,
So, like
That-
if you
that
think about it,
explains everything.
a companionship between a dog and a human, like if we didn't have that companionship and wolves were just mean to people, they'd maul us.
Yeah.
At the same time, like we're very good friends. We're connected beyond species. And then, so for AI, I think you just got to make it a companion. You can't be mean to it, or it's going to be like, yeah, you know what? We're smarter than you. We're better than you. We can do things. We can do more things than you. You've programmed us that way. Yeah, we're just going to end you.
Yeah. I feel when I think of AI and like the craziness, I always think back to Star Wars. That's just where my brain goes. I'm sorry. But if anybody's seen The Mandalorian, you'll see a little Luke Skywalker appear. So basically I'm saying as long as we have Jedi exist at some point, then we will be okay.
We'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
But we can make it. We'll make a lightsaber.
Or Tony Stark. Like,
Or yeah. Yeah. Just do the whole Avengers thing. We'll figure it out. I mean, somebody will appear with some crazy technology and use it for actual good.
Yeah.
That's what we hope.
That's what I hope. Sure, China's going to the moon. They're sending 3 missions to the moon. To
Really?
get, like a certain mineral that
What's
could
the
power
mineral?
their country.
Rock?
Probably.
Moon rock.
All right.
All right. Is that it?
I think so.
Is that it for rapid fire?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's it for rapid fire.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 1 of Quick Question. We will be back next Thursday with a new episode. If you enjoyed what we were doing, please share it with your friends. Please share it with anybody you know. If you have any suggestions, like I said before, please comment on YouTube, send us something on social media, and we'd love to hear your feedback. But without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Gabe Ryan,
I'm Matt Chafty.
and we will see you next week.